What's up? Welcome back to another episode of the MindShare Podcast, the show that cuts through the noise, says what most people won't say, and gives you real-world strategies to help you work smarter, build mindshare, and grow a business that actually makes you money. I'm your host, David Greenspan, and today we're going straight into the eye of the storm. Because if you're a realtor in Ontario right now, it feels like everything around you is on fire. The Ontario government just stepped in and took over control of RECO, the Real Estate Council of Ontario, the regulator that's supposed to be watching over all of us. OREA's brand new CEO has been put on leave of absence just months into the job, and that news hit days just literally before their big powerhouse conference. And CREA has already moved Realtor.ca into a for-profit taxable subsidiary with a separate corporation and its own board, which opens the door to a completely different business model for the country's main real estate portal. And TRREB? TRREB members are staring down their year-end invoice, TRREB, OREA, CREA dues, plus a mandatory ORWP at a time when the market's slow and a lot of agents are already stretched thin. On top of that, you got social media full of realtors ripping each other apart, people speculating, accusing, and posting half-truths, while the public's sitting there thinking, can I trust any of these people? So in this episode, I'm not here to gossip. I'm not here to politic. I'm not here to pick a side. I'm here to lay out what's actually happening, what it means for you, what you need to be doing right now so you don't get dragged down with the rest of the noise. Well, let's get into it. Let's start with the biggest headline right now. The Ontario government has taken control of RECO. Now, this isn't a rumor. This is a formal public decision. The Minister of Public and Business Service Delivery, Stephen Crawford, announced that an administrator, Jean Lépine, is being appointed to take over RECO's operations. There's been a lot of mixed reviews about this. Some people saying this is absolutely amazing. It's going well outside the industry. This way we've got none of this buddy-buddy stuff happening. Other people are going, how could you just trust this to an outside source? This is going to completely ruin everything. A lot of mixed reviews, obviously. And this came after an audit that found issues with RECO's practices and organizational culture. And it's happening. It's happening in the shadow of an $8 million real estate trust account failure. Or was it $10 million? No, wait, was it 11? Was it 8? This trust account failure that literally shook the public confidence in the regulator. Now, let's be clear about what this means. RECO's board and their leadership don't just have, like, quote-unquote, some help. Instead, this is an outside administrator who now has the power to effectively run the organization, review the practices from top to bottom, and reset how real estate regulation works in Ontario. Think about it. That ain't a small thing. And to the outside, like to the public, the message seems pretty simple. The government doesn't trust the regulator to regulate you properly, so now we're stepping in. And whether we like it or not, when consumers see that, they don't separate RECO from us. They just see, real estate's messy. Someone wasn't doing their job. I need to be careful. So what do you do with that? I mean, I've said it before. You don't control the market. You don't control the competition. But in this case, you don't control RECO. You don't control the audit. You don't control the administrator. But you can certainly control how clean your own house is. So think here, you know what, based on that, action step. Go ahead and tighten up everything you're doing. Make sure that you've got, you've crossed your T's, dotted your I's, your paperwork, your trust account handling. I mean, that's just obviously if you run a brokerage, your disclosure, documentation. Like, if there was ever a time to make sure you're actually doing things by the book, it's when the government's just announced that the regulator needs to be fixed. So get your stuff in order. Now let's talk about the rest of the storm that's swirling around us right now. In July, OREA announced a new CEO. Someone who officially stepped in the role this fall. Somebody who's been with the organization a very long time, has seen every corner of it, knows every piece of it, knows everybody within it and outside of it. And then on November 24th, OREA sent a letter out confirming that CEO is now on leave of absence. and that the sitting OREA president is serving as acting CEO to maintain leadership continuity. No explanation, no public detail. And that announcement landed literally days before OREA's big powerhouse conference on December 1st. This is an event they position as like Canada's best political affairs conference, and this year they even went ahead and they got Prince Harry as the headliner. Now, you don't need to speculate on what happened internally to understand the optics of this and the timing of it all. I mean, without any details of what happened, I can only personally conclude that we will learn more in the coming days or weeks now the conference is over, but no matter what, no matter how you slice it, the timing of it all, and considering how much has been going on, like in this industry, in the public eye, this whole thing is really interesting. And if that wasn't enough movement, TRREB, the largest real estate board in all of North America, added more fuel to the fire this fall. In mid-October, TRREB announced that it had replaced the full board of PropTx Innovations, their technology subsidiary responsible for delivering tools, digital solutions to roughly like 90,000 realtors across Ontario. And they've also launched a full governance, operational review of PropTx to determine what needs to change going forward. Now, I'm not saying there's anything scandalous in that decision. Boards get restructured for a lot of reasons, but when you stack this on top of everything else happening right now, it becomes part of a much bigger picture, doesn't it? Leadership turnover, governance reviews, operational resets, regulation intervention, structural changes. Every major corner of organized real estate in Ontario is being shaken. It's being inspected, it's being rebuilt. It's all happening at the same time. And again, to a consumer watching all this from the outside, it does not look like healthy change. Instead, it looks like instability. Looks like systems aren't working and people are just completely scrambling, lost, disorganized. And again, regardless of who's actually right or wrong behind the decisions, the public perception lands directly on us. Us as realtors, not the organizations. So I'll give you an extra step for that. Think about this. Like, if you rely heavily on, and look, I realize that you could possibly be listening well outside of Toronto or even outside of Ontario, so some of this or a lot of maybe what's being shared here is not very applicable. But this right here would be. Because if you rely heavily on board supply technology, whatever it is, take a moment this week to make sure your own systems, whether it's CRM database, follow-up, tracking, whatever, websites, like make sure that this stuff is independent, that it's clean, that it's under your control. And this is something I've been talking about for many, many, many years when it comes to CRM. I mean, if you're one of those folks that's using the company CRM because the CRM was free, well, like what happens if you don't want to be part of that company anymore? What happens if they steer you wrong? What happens if you find a better option somewhere else? And I'm talking better option of splits or business deal, not just CRM. What are you going to do? Just like switch everything up? See, we need to own our own data. We need to own our own database, not have it with a company that we're with just because it's free. See, we shouldn't be relying on third-party platforms to keep us stable, especially when the ground around them keeps shaking. So just think about your systems. Okay, next up here, we've got CREA. And back on October 23rd, now this is 2024, not 2025, so just over a year ago, CREA held a special general meeting. Members voted, and about 77% were in favor of transitioning Realtor.ca into a wholly owned taxable subsidiary of CREA. Now, since January this year, that new corporation, Realtor.ca Canada Inc., legally exists with its own board and an interim CEO in place. And the CREA's official line is that, this move lets them pursue new revenue streams. It allows them to invest more in the platform. And it positions them to compete better in a tech-heavy environment. And all of which might be true. But let's not kid ourselves. When you take the country's main MLS portal and set it up to operate as a taxable revenue-generating entity, members are going to jump on to one conclusion. I know I certainly have. I mean, at some point, they're going to find ways to monetize this, beyond just the dues. And I got a real inkling. I got a real hunch. I mean, my spidey sense, my gut is saying that's going to include selling leads back to us. Selling leads back to us. Now, is that written in stone? No. But is it a reasonable concern based on, the direction of every other major real estate portal in the world? Yeah. Think about it. You pay to have the portal. You put up all your information on there. And then when somebody actually taps into it, they're going to start selling that lead back to you. Hey, we know somebody was interested in your listing. Would you like to know who they are? Yeah, of course I would. Great. Here's how much it's going to cost you. Sounds very Canadian, doesn't it? We're going to charge you on this side, then we're going to charge you on that side, then we're going to charge you on this other side, and then we're just going to keep charging you. You just keep paying money and screw it. You want to make money? No, you don't get to do that. Now, again, we don't control that decision. But we definitely need to understand it. Because our clients sure as hell are going to start seeing the changes to the platform over the time, and they're going to realize there's something going on differently. In fact, as we talk about this technology, let's go back to TRREB for one more second here. We already know that it's been a brutal couple of years for a lot of agents. Just financially, they've seen a lot of the volume drop off and the revenue drop off from what they saw just a few years ago. And we also know that because of that, membership at TRREB has actually declined year over year, after a whole bunch of years of steady growth. And TRREB actually posted a multi-million-dollar deficit in 2024. At the same time, OREA's Ontario Realtor Wellness Program, the ORWP, that became mandatory as of January 1st, 2024. So go figure that. The standard plan alone is expected to cost about $660 per member per year on top of the regular OREA dues of $110 plus HST. Now, stack on TRREB dues, CREA dues, and everything else that goes rolled into the annual invoice. And for a lot of realtors, obviously in the GTA, that bill coming due at the end of December is sitting somewhere in the neighborhood of about $2,000 all in. And that's not some made-up number. That's just math when you add up each piece. And TRREB, of course, TRREB's been emailing weekly because they know there's going to be a lot of people that aren't going to pay. And they tell people your 2025 invoice for TRREB, OREA, CREA, and ORWP is coming. Here's the deadline. Here's how to pay. Now, the irony is this, and I've been watching a lot of the politicking, the bitching, the complaining online. I've been watching people talk about this. And there's some people that are completely upset about the amount of emails coming through. TRREB, relax. Why are you sending this to me so early? Why do you continue to break them? Why do you continue to push? Why do you continue to send an email every single day, it seems like? And there's other people on the flip side that see it the other way. And somebody said it the other day, and I thought, you know what? This person's absolutely right. If they don't send enough reminders, half the members say, I never saw anything. And I can tell you 1,000,000%, we hear that stuff all the time, right? People who just completely disregard an email. And then at some point when the deadline passes, goes, oh, I never saw anything. Well, did you? Did you really not see anything? And then, of course, what do they do to circumvent that? Well, we're going to go in and send lots of reminders. We're going to actually send you a reminder every single week. But of course, what happens? People are furious. Stop spamming me while I'm already broke. Or whatever they're saying. It's too much. You can't win. You can't win. If you don't send enough, people will tell you they didn't see it, and then we'll have all sorts of bitching and complaining about the fact that they got to pay late fees or reinstatement fees. And, then you got the other side of things of if they, if they do send too much, people say, well, it's too much. You literally can't win in this industry. You just can't. And between all of that, The government takeover of RECO, OREA leadership disruption, Realtor.ca's new profit structure deficits, dues, ORWP. Like, is it any wonder that realtors are angry or tired or even suspicious of what's going on right now? I'd say of course not. But the problem is what everybody does with that anger. Let's take a quick commercial break here for a quick moment. This episode of the MindShare Podcast is brought to you by Kit's Keep in Touch Systems, helping you stay consistently in front of your database with marketing, newsletters, GeoFarm flyers, CRM, websites, social media content, and so much more to help you build MindShare so that you get the market share. Now, speaking of you, if you were using a previous newsletter prior to this past few weeks and you did get an announcement from that company that said they are no longer doing newsletters, I want to encourage you, get in touch with me directly if you'd like. Send me an email, david@mindshare101.com. Send me a DM through, say, Instagram at davidgreenspan101. And I'll make sure to connect you with the team over at Kits. I'll make a personal introduction for you so that you can speak to the team and find out how you can step up what you were doing so that you can, keep doing it and get even more ROI from it. This episode is also brought to you by REM Real Estate Magazine, our friends over there, one of the only outlets actually digging into these stories and giving you context instead of just headlines. And Revel Realty, a brokerage built on culture, creativity, and collaboration in a time when the rest of the industry seems to be, tearing itself apart. Support the partners who support you and who are committed to helping you build a stronger, more sustainable business. All right. Let's take off the realtor hat for a second and put on the homeowner hat, okay? Imagine you're a consumer. You're not in the weeds in this stuff. You're not reading meeting minutes or governance memos. All you see, these headlines. Ontario government takes control of real estate regulator after audit finds problems. Or here, Realtor.ca becomes a for-profit company. Or here, one more. Membership fees, mandatory programs, and infighting at boards and associations. And then, never mind just those headlines, but you go online, remember you're a homeowner, and what do you see? Realtors arguing with each other. Realtors calling the whole thing corrupt. Realtors accusing specific people of things they have zero proof of. And I got to tell you, I've seen that one. We've got people that are holding high-ranking positions in some of these organizations. In fact, there's two people holding two different positions in two different organizations that happen to be, related. And everybody's calling this wrong. Everybody's calling these people out. Listen, I'm going to tell you all straight. And I'm not going to drop any names here, but I'm going to tell you these are two very amazing people who really care about this industry. They're not shady people. There's no reason to be attacking them. There's no reason to be calling them corrupt. And if you don't have proof and you don't know the people, then shut up. Yeah, I said it. You might not be happy about what's going on, but go do a fact-finding mission first before you start calling people out and tearing people's reputations down. Realtors making jokes, spreading rumors, piling on. It is unbelievably unprofessional. It is unbelievably immature. It is certainly a sign of these times, though, isn't it? Keyboard warriors, ninjas, all in the background, just chirping and chirping. I mean, I beg the question if most of these people are actually doing any work. Now, I'm going to say even as a homeowner, right? And if you're a homeowner watching all this, I'd ask you, what conclusion are you coming up with? You're definitely not saying wow, I'm really glad these are the people handling the biggest financial decisions of my life. No. Instead, you start thinking, maybe the system really is broken. Maybe I should question the value of hiring a realtor. maybe I should see what I can do on my own. And you guys got to understand, that's the part I care about right there. Not who sits in what chair, not who runs what meeting, not who lost what political chess game. Like, what I care about is this mess that's eroding the trust that we need to have in order to do business. Because if the public starts losing trust in our profession, it doesn't matter who's at the top of RECO or OREA or TRREB or CREA. We're all going to feel it in our bank accounts, bottom line. Now let's add some technology to the mix on this. Okay, we're in a world where, I mean, I just said it with the keyboard ninjas. Everybody's got a megaphone, everybody's got a camera, everybody's got AI. And some agents are using AI to be more efficient. Some are using it to be, more thoughtful, better prepared. But a lot of people are using it as a shortcut. Like generic listing descriptions, generic emails, generic social posts, like zero substance behind any of it. And ladies and gentlemen, we got to realize that, like, when you're using chat, when you're using AI, when you're using any one of these platforms, they spit out the same format of the way they talk, the way they do, the way they say. And it's just so clear. Like, you just know that it's there. It doesn't look good on you. And then between this slow market and the stress and the do's and the headlines, these same people jump on Facebook groups and Instagram and start, with comments and just start swinging at the fences for looking for people's heads. AI on one side, anger on the other, and in the middle, an industry that looks literally, seriously, like it's at civil war with itself. And instead of educating people out there, instead of educating the public, realtors, in fact, are a lot of agents are actually entertaining the public with all this frickin' drama. Like, it's not that they're showing that they're professional. They're literally just instead confirming every stereotype of, like, what these lazy, overpaid realtors are making. Because isn't that what the perception is out there from society? Agents are lazy, they make too much money. And here we are, literally, with all this bullshit online, publicly, proving every single point they have. And the big thing here, like, the more we fight each other in public, the more power we actually hand to everybody who wants to replace this role. Tech companies, different, whatever, portals and AIs, and anybody who'd love to sit in between you and your client and charge a fee for it. Because, again, people have noticed, and they've taken notice the types of commissions that realtors make. Hence why you got so many people coming into this business, what I would call riff-raff. There's way too much garbage coming in. And when I use the word garbage, please understand the clear articulation from me on the word garbage is not the people themselves, but is their actual education and desire to be in this business and the reason for it. If you don't have any desire to actually help other people, if you don't have any desire to come in here and do this, professionally, and you're just here literally because you think you can make a bunch of money, get out. Go home. Wherever you came from, go back there. Nobody wants you here. It just ruins the industry. It makes the industry look very, very bad. So, this is the part where you have to decide. Are you going to be part of the noise? Or are you going to be part of the solution? And what do we actually do with all this? Well, I'm not, and you're not going to fix RECO. We're not going in to rewrite, OREA bylaws or lobby with them or anything else. I mean, maybe you are. I don't know. We're not going to restructure CREA. And we're not setting TRREB's budget. But that doesn't mean that we don't have a sense of control or a sense of power, maybe. Instead, we need to focus and our focus needs to go somewhere. So first, here, let's break this down, okay? Because I want to, again, take all of the stuff that we talked to today And as I really, we've titled this episode, The Real Estate Meltdown, what takeovers, shakeups, and rising fees really mean for realtors. What I wanted to do was set the stage today. What I wanted to do was talk about these issues that are at hand right now, because it's important we address them. Not just that we address them to talk about them and dramatize and politicize and whatever else, or politic. Moreover, because the bullshit that's going on online, with the way realtors hate on each other, the way realtors hate on the industry, the public sees it. And that's what needs to change right now. So here's how we do this, okay? First step. Think about yourself as the explainer, the calm explainer. Okay? Our clients don't want some, conspiracy theorists. They don't want us ranting. Instead, what they want, never mind what they want, what they need is a clear, simple explanation. See, you should be able to say in plain language, okay? Here's a few examples here. Yes, the province stepped in to fix RECO. That's about regulation and consumer protection. Now, here's what that means for you in practical terms when we work together. See, right away, what we've done is we've explained it, and we've told them why it matters to them. And that's always what you need to be doing, right? You want to tell people what it is. You want to tell people why it matters, and potentially even tell them what to do about it, which is essentially what I'm doing right now. Or another one here. Yes, Realtor.ca's structure is changing. It is still owned by CREA, but they've created a taxable company to run it so they can invest more and pursue revenue. Now, here's what's important for you as a buyer or seller. Again, the buyers, the sellers, the homeowners, they don't know what all of this means. They're reading the headlines, they're seeing what's going on, but they don't fully understand it. Let's explain it to them. Let's help them understand what really matters, what may not matter. Or here. Yes, you're seeing the headlines about fees and programs. Here's how I personally invest in tools and systems that serve you. I mean, this is deflection 101 here when it comes to negotiation, when it comes to conversation and relationship building, when it comes to working with somebody and helping them understand what they really need to focus on versus what they don't, because there's always a lot of noise out there. See, if you can be the one who simplifies instead of adds drama, you're going to stand out. You're going to build more positive mindshare. Now, second here, I'm going to suggest that you audit your own presence. Scroll your last 30 days of posts. Scroll your last 30 days of comments. Go back to your last 30 days of stories. And ask yourself, if a stranger looked at you and that didn't know you, would they say, that's a pro I trust with my biggest asset? Or would they say, that person complains a lot, hard pass? Obviously, if it's not the first one, you got to clean your stuff up. Third one here. Got to treat your business like a business. This isn't some hobby where you just, you invoice people every once in a while, right? And this is where mindshare comes right back in. See, while the boards are fighting and the politics are playing out and the headlines are rolling, the one thing that will still protect you, us, your business, is the relationship that you have with your audience. Okay? Think about that database of yours. Think about the newsletter of yours. Think about the content that you're putting out. Think about your systems. Think about your consistency. We can't outsource that stuff to like some piece of technology or even a board or a regulator. And I'll give you one more here, the fourth one here. Decide who you want to be known as in this mess. You can be the angry one, you can be the sarcastic one, you can be the conspiracy one, or you can be the steady one, the informed one, the professional one, the one clients feel safe with. And again, that's mindshare. And that is completely under your control. So look, I get it. This last year has been a circus for organized real estate in Ontario, period. And I do understand as well that anybody, again, and I'll say this again, is that is outside of Ontario might look at some of these topics as, hey, this doesn't impact me, but we're seeing this all over the place. We're seeing things like this happening south of the border. We're seeing it happen outside of the boundaries of Ontario. These things are happening everywhere, and the action steps I presented to you are exactly the way you need to play the game. Okay, yeah, it's been a circus out there. The regulator needs an overhaul. The associations are under a microscope. The money side feels like ridiculously heavy right now. The headlines aren't helping, and technology has turned every frustrated agent into a broadcaster. But our success isn't going to be decided in a boardroom in Toronto or Ottawa or Vancouver or anywhere else for that matter. It's going to be decided in your calendar. It's going to be decided in your database. It's going to be decided in your actions and in the way you show up when everybody else is completely losing their minds. And I'm not saying you got to pretend that everything's fine. And you don't have to ignore what's going on. But we have to rise above it. We got to be the one that our clients trust. We have to be the one who explains instead of explodes and rants and bitches. And we have to be the one who stays consistent when the industry feels completely all over the place. If this episode helped you see any of the chaos a little more clearly, please share it with another agent who's caught up in all the bullshit and really needs to refocus. And of course, if you haven't yet, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and or Spotify. Of course, it helps more people, find the show and hopefully raise the standard in this industry. I'm David Greenspan, reminding you, build MindShare because MindShare equals market share. Thank you for listening. I'll catch you next week.